Renfield. You know what? I'll get it out of the way. Hey, Nicolas Cage, what do you play in this movie?
I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Yeah, a vampire. Not just a vampire. Dracula. Man, ever since I saw the trailer, this clip of Nicolas Cage running around calling himself a vampire from that other movie is the first thing that came out into my mind. But other than that, this is also the other reason why I got attracted to, well, Renfield. And it's a Universal movie, so Universal has kind of like the rights for the classic monsters, and Dracula is one of those. Although Dracula it's gonna be used in almost everything, it doesn't necessarily have to be Universal. Well, I'm not exactly an expert on that, but I'm just kind of just rambling along and just trying to put the mood before I talk about the movie that I saw, Renfield. And just with my sheer words, I just gave out that I was just anticipating this movie because I'm always very curious to see what Nicolas Cage is up to, whether he's gonna get some good acting, bad acting, overacting. He's seriously, ever since even last year with the unbearable weight of success, I kind of forgot the whole title of that movie. You know that Nicolas Cage is probably one of the most fascinating actors that there is. So the trailer didn't lie. We're gonna see Nicolas Cage just being Nicolas Cage, but just put him in anything and he will keep out some kind of delight that there is. In this case, he becomes Count Dracula, and he's not exactly the protagonist; he's the antagonist of the movie. And boy, that the trailer was gonna be one of those that they're gonna make it kind of like a dark comedy to kind of like a serious situation. In this case, kind of like toxic relationships between boss and henchman. So this is, but one thing that I didn't expect that this movie had is that it's gonna be having another subplot that I will get to it. But what I meant to say is that I went to see the movie, and you know what? I enjoy it. I enjoy it for what it is. I warn you that it's gory. Even though the CGI is gory CGI, and you are not exactly too much into it, you're not gonna like it. I know, because I know that there's some people in my family or my circle of friends that they don't like gory stuff. Even if the effects are kind of like, well, they use CGI blood instead of practical effect. No matter if it's practical effects or CGI, they're kind of like wincing out of it. But man, I'm just rambling about, well, the movie itself. In a way, it's like I kind of wish that I could make it kind of like a bite size, but no. This movie kind of like deserves to be talked about it, and doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much it's gonna take it, because where do I start? Where do I start with this one? Renfield. For those who doesn't know, Renfield is actually the name of Dracula's familiar, which is basically kind of like a henchman that helps Dracula get his victims. And well, you know that Dracula basically drinks blood from victims. And Renfield, which is kind of also I don't know if it's a character in the book, but he is a character in the old like Bela Lugosi movie. He is kind of like the guy who goes into Dracula's house. He gets he turns into a familiar, and he just helps out. Dracula get his victims. If you don't know exactly what I'm talking about, is basically the crazy guy that goes like rich, 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 or when he makes this crazy smile, he goes like. That's the Renfield guy. And it's funny that the movie actually starts out with a recreation of the Bela Lugosi movie, all in black and white, and they use the voice clips of with Bela Lugosi's voice, but they managed to superimpose Nicolas Cage instead of Bela Lugosi. And let's just kind of pretend that the ending of the classic movie never happened. So basically, the story is that Renfield he basically becomes Dracula's familiar or henchman. Well, that's why they call it a familiar, which is basically a term of a kind of like a helper that aids Dracula in this case, and well, he because of that, Renfield, or in this case, his name Robert, what was it? Montague Renfield. That's his complete name. Yeah. He just spent years doing Dracula's bidding, bringing him victims and saving him from perils here and there. And of course, it all comes up with a price. He becomes a henchman, and he becomes basically immortal. And also, he gets the power of becoming technically a superhero every time he eats bugs. Every time he eats an insect, he drains their life power and gives him powers. But basically, technically, the story starts that in one of those missions, Dracula is almost killed, and he needs to feed in order to get into full power. But during that time, of course, Renfield, he's beginning to have his second thoughts of what his life is going, and so much that he just goes into these therapy groups that in which not only he just goes to see it so he can see what kind of victims he can bring to Dracula. He's also there to find a way, to seek some confidence in himself, and because he feels that his relationship with Dracula is kind of like toxic. Sorry about the ambulance. I'll just wait for a little longer. Don't blame me. I live near a hospital, so this is bound to happen. But man, that happens most of the time when I'm doing these vlogs. Okay. Okay, now it's getting lower. Now it's gonna nope. Okay, I'll continue on regardless. So basically, the whole treatment between Renfield and Dracula is almost like a toxic boyfriend, because, well, Dracula is kind of one of those narcissistic kind of toxic relationships in which the world revolves around himself. He plays the victim in everything, and he's like, look, I can't live without you. But if you go, you're gonna feel guilty, and that I'm gonna die, or something like that. And Renfield, he feels like he has a difficult time to break up with that relationship, because he knows that if he goes away from the relationship, it's gonna get kind of like, it's gonna be hard. The best way I can to say that is that it's gonna be really hard. Basically, that could have been the whole movie, but for some reason, the movie also gets mixed up into kind of like another movie, which is kind of like this cop movie in which it starts out Aquafina as basically Judy Hopps from Zootopia, in which she tries to find she tries to find some dirt on this mobster group called Lobo, in which she wants to find them a way to arrest them because she wants to avenge her father that got killed by those guys. I mean. But unfortunately, the police is corrupt and they let them go because, well, they have no concrete dirt here and there, and so she's kind of like desperate. She's basically the opposite of Renfield, in which she knows how to stand her ground no matter what. Even though the cop is like, no, you can't, you're wasting your time on finding dirt on these guys because you can't arrest them and all these things. But she's like, no, I'm gonna find something that it's gonna put the Lobos in their place. And yeah, this cop plot line, it gets mixed up, with the Renfield thing. Well, that's the movie that you got. As you can see, I haven't even talked about the actor playing Renfield, which is none other than Nicholas Hoult. And I gotta say that the dynamic between Nicholas Hoult as Renfield and Nicolas Cage as Dracula, two Nicholases, whatever. This is kind of like the best part of the movie because you see that there's something really good in it when it's kind of like a dark comedy allegory about toxic relationships and it's interesting, and their comedic timing with these two are great. And Nicholas Hoult, he does a fine job playing like this character who wants to find a way out, but he's still kind of like unsure because he's afraid of Dracula, and he should be because, well, Dracula, he does come off as impulsive even though he doesn't have full power, and if he doesn't have the power to kill you with a snap of his finger, he can belittle you psychologically. And there is a scene that is beautiful that it encompasses the power of Nicolas Cage as Dracula, in which they have them both, and he's just kind of like persuading, saying that no, but I need you, and you cannot do anything on your own. That's kind of like the gist of it, and it's great. I really like that moment. And, well, yes, you have Nicolas Cage acting as Nicolas Cage. Although he's a little bit more restrained. He doesn't act like kind of like uber crazy like any other of her movie. But you can tell that there's some moments in which you kind of tell if he is ad-libbing in some moments, because there's a kind of like a moment in which he goes like, and I was like, I think Nicolas Cage add that. You can tell that I have a lot of trust on Nicolas Cage when he does his acting, no matter if he's a little bit restrained or something like that. He's one of a kind. This is the best way I could say that about him. He's kind of like one of a kind. I'm not saying that in order to overshadow Nicholas Hoult, because he did this guy. He does well in his job, and also I hate to say it, but this is also one of those roles in which I'm not exactly as angry with Awkwafina. And if you know me, I'm not a big fan of Awkwafina. Maybe because I had a kind of like a bad start with her and almost all her roles, in which I found her annoying. Her voice is kind of like raspy for my liking. But then I began to tolerate her when she made the voice in The Bad Guys, and now I finally saw her a more tolerable plot line that is, of course, at this cops, which again I kind of compare it to Judy Hopps from Zootopia, But here's a little bit where the movie kind of like weakens itself because of when the two plot lines blend in, because it really feels that it kind of overshadows kind of like the most important thing that this movie wanted to do, which is in which it wanted to showcase about the codependency that of Renfield, and trying to liberate himself from the curse of Dracula, because you feel for the guy. He tries his best to first of all appease with his with Dracula, because how can I say? Because at the start of the movie, he's just finding out bad people to feed to Dracula. But unfortunately, Dracula is kind of like a picky eater. He's in which he's like, no. I want something fresh. I want nuns. I want a bus full of cheerleaders. And well, what else? I already mentioned that he has the power that to become a superhero every time he eats bugs. So you're gonna see a lot of those scenes in which he eats insects in order to superpower himself. Although there is a little bit of CGI effects, I have to derail a little bit in order to talk about it. And yes, the movie is gory. You're gonna see heads exploding, people exploding. There were 2 times in which their arms get ripped out with CGI effects. Although I'm not exactly kind of like picky out of it. Although I kind of wish they could have done a little bit more practical effects to make it a little bit more real. But you know what? This CGI it's not exactly messy, but also is cost efficient. So I got kind of like mixed feelings out of it. So what else do I have to talk about this? Oh yeah, I haven't even talked about some of the villains. The villains, of course, we got Dracula as the villain, but the other villains that we have in this movie, in which I think it could have been a little bit of a better villain if they were done a little bit right. It's kind of the Lobo, the Lobo gang, which are kind of like these kingpins of this town. They think that they have the world in the palm in their hands. And most of them, you're going to see it because they even control the police. They're corrupt. You have seen this kind of storylines here and there. Most notably, you're going to see that the organization is run by this mother and child. The child is kind of like this spoiled brat. He's played by Ben Schwartz. And he basically, of course, play like the Ben Schwartz that he's just like, oh, look at me! I am part of the rich organization, and I can do whatever I want. Look at this! The police can't touch me. This is the kind of guy that he plays. And the other one, I think this actress, what's her name? Shore Aftershlu, who is kind of the mother, who is the mother figure of the organization. She plays, I gotta give her credit that she plays as a great villainess, because you can tell that she has this slimy smile that you just wanna, I want her something bad to happen, because that's the reaction that you're gonna get with these kind of villains, that they think that they have the world over their shoulder here and there. Although I gotta admit that once they get mixed up with the Dracula plot line, I think that this is where the organization kind of loses their power of threatening, because they find out something more threatening, which is, of course, Dracula. If they could have find a way to make the organization kind of like threatening and, well, kind of humanize Dracula, or find a way to find out that Dracula has been used, that could have been, how can I say, that could have made it more powerful, the movie, I'll say. But even though I'm complaining about the cop movie plot line, I still had a good time with this movie. I enjoy it. I enjoy Nicolas Cage. I enjoy the sheer action, and it's not a long movie. Although it's kind of I felt like a little bit that the movie I felt like a little bit longer, but it is well paced. It's just 90 minutes. It's not gonna take too much of your time. So if you and now that I think about it, this is probably one of the better vampire movies I have seen in a while. I mean, now that I think about it, the last vampire movie that I have seen is The Invitation, and The Invitation sucked. It was so boring, and it kind of reminded me that the biggest problem that I have with vampire movies is that it's almost kind of like the same. The vampire kind of like acting, it's so suave, so unemotional. No, but leave it to Nicolas Cage to save the vampire genre with this one. So, you know what? I give it a little bit of a low recommendation to this movie, and it's just because of the Nicholas Hoult and Nicolas Cage, the two Nicks giving out brilliant performances. Don't let the police subplot get into you, because I've seen worse cases when two movies get melded out. It's when it does okay. It is a dark comedy that makes a launch into toxic relationships in a dark, humorous, funny way. Check it out. You're gonna like it. So in the meantime, I'm gonna play out like Nicolas Cage. I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!